and welcome to our module on the emergency. As a stage manager, you can be called upon to handle all sorts of situations in the theater. One of the most important types of situations that you may be ever called upon to handle is that of stopping a performance. The decision to stop a performance rests solely with the stage manager in consultation with the house manager. Take a moment to think about what, for you personally, is something that would require the halting of a performance. It's a difficult thing to think about, right? It's a difficult thing to decide, and you may have mere moments to make that decision. What are some absolutes? What is a situation you would always stop a performance? I can give you an example that I know of, an example that I've experienced, but I want you to think of one yourself. Let's think of an example of a medical emergency in the house. If a patron is gravely ill and needs immediate medical attention, that would potentially be a situation where you would stop a performance. Just a few years ago, during Shenandoah Summer Music Theater, SSMT, I was involved in an incident where we had a patron collapse that needed critical care by myself, a physician that happened to be in the house, and various bystanders that helped with the situation, along with stage management, house management, and the local EMT departments. During a production of Oklahoma on opening night, a patron stammered out of their row, collapsing in the aisle. This person appeared to have tripped, and I was sitting in one of the last rows of the theater. Myself and Liz Albert ran down the back staircase to come around to assist, where we discovered the man was having difficulty breathing, and we were losing a pulse. Occasionally the pulse existed. Many different problems were occurring in this. On my way down, I thought to grab the automatic external defibrillator, the AED. As part of my own personal procedures, I do that anytime I'm going into an unknown medical situation, because I would rather have it with me, especially if it's on my path of travel, than to have to go back and get it or send a bystander who doesn't know where it is out to go get it. One of the things that we'll be doing on Monday's class is we'll actually be going to find the external defibrillator, understand how to turn it on, how to at least use the basics of the device. The device itself will actually guide you through its use. You theoretically need zero training to use a defibrillator. I strongly recommend that everybody takes a CPR and first aid class. It is absolutely not required to do so as a stage manager, but it is certainly something that's helpful for you. So, from the stage manager's position, just think about it. This happened in this building. Can you actually see in a darkened theater somebody collapsing in an aisle? Potentially not. Right? So these are the things to think about, right? How would you actually know about an event, right? So as I was down there trying to render care, I was trying to yell for house lights and assistance. It happened several moments later. It took a bit of time to actually get that, because again, there's a loud orchestra playing, and it's very difficult to hear commands. The other thing is, how can ushers assist in a situation like that? How can you as the stage manager and your announcements help quell a medical situation? An example that I have in trying to quell a situation like that is an announcement that is, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, a medical situation has arisen. Please remain in your seats unless you are a qualified medical provider. If so, please identify yourself to ushers. Right? A simple situation like that gets all non-medically trained bystanders to remain in their seats. Then you have trained medical personnel identifying themselves to people that aren't necessarily directly involved in the care. Right? That allows whoever's handling the situation to continue handling it until a more qualified medical individual becomes available, if there is one in the house. Right? It's far more likely in an OBT show that you're going to have a qualified medical individual in the house. A Glaze show, because it's a smaller theater, may very well not have a medically trained person in the house. If so, you handle those situations to the best of your ability. and you use the radios and all other materials provided, right? Examples of ways to communicate with front of house in these types of situations. In OBT, we have this lovely intercom system. Channels C and D handle the dressing rooms and front of house. You would make an announcement through your headset or through the microphone that's built in. Attention, attention, medical emergency. All ushers, front of house, to positions, please, for assistance. Attention, attention, medical emergency in the auditorium or on stage if it was a performer, right? And then you can turn those channels back off. Medical emergencies are difficult. To me, the more scary type of emergency is that of a fire. How might you handle a fire situation in the Orson Bryant Theater? Another question. What is one of the life-saving measures and life-saving pieces of equipment that exists in the Orson Bryant Theater? Right? It exists in most proscenium theaters. I'll give you a moment to think about that. The answer to that question is, of course, the fire curtain. The fire curtain can be activated from either side of the theater and should only be activated at the direction of a stage manager or an assistant stage manager. The fire curtain's entire role is to separate the dangerous performance space where the fire is likely occurring from the house and prevent the fire from spreading between those two spaces. It essentially turns the stage house into a chimney, having the fire go up and pops smoke vents that are in the ceiling that truly does turn the stage house into a live chimney. It's very important to know that you should not pull a fire curtain unless you think it's absolutely necessary, since the recall, the cranking back up procedure, can take quite some time, upwards of half an hour, to crank the fire curtain back up. A fire alarm in and of itself is not sufficient to cause the fire curtain to need to be dropped, right? So what might need to be caused if a fire, or what might be a cause that allows you to drop the fire curtain would be a piece of scenery has caught fire and can't be extinguished by the two fire extinguishers on the stage deck. Right? You've sent ASMs out to try and extinguish. It's not possible. You need to drop the fire curtain because the fire is going to get out of control. Right? If you've used the extinguishers on both sides and they've both been depleted, then your fire is out of control and the fire curtain needs to be dropped at that situation. Right? You need to evacuate your cast and you need to evacuate your company. Another thing that I want you to really think about is how to not create panic. Ladies and gentlemen, a situation has arisen that requires the evacuation of the theater. Please proceed to the nearest exit. Again, repeating. Ladies and gentlemen, a situation has arisen that requires the evacuation of the theater. Please proceed to the nearest exit. Patrons needing assistance, please identify yourself to an usher. This is a calming announcement. This is not a panic-inducing announcement. There are other commands. If you're able to get into the house, I strongly encourage you to try and get into the house to assist with the evacuation. It may be, especially in glaze productions and in glaze shows, you may not be able to get into the house. Climbing down the booth stairs will put you directly into an egress path, meaning people are exiting that building. You may not be able to get back into the theater to assist with the evacuation. If that's the case, stay in the lobby and assist from there. I'm going to play some auditory command clips, and I want you to hear and listen and think, how can I use my own voice and my own personal style of announcement to command delicately, firmly, and cleanly to potentially a scared patron base, right? So delicate, meaning I don't want you to scream at people. Get out, get out, get out, right? That's not the right way to handle this. Firmly, meaning come this way, move quickly, leave everything, something like that. That's firm, right? Delicate would be, ladies and gentlemen, a situation has arisen that requires the evacuation of the theater. Please proceed to the nearest exit immediately. Thank you. Right?
Come this way! Leave everything! Stay low! Bad exit! Go forward! Bad exit! Go forward! Stay seated! Stay seated! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back!
All of these three things combined together form the basis of production announcements and form the basis of our needs in an emergency, especially an evacuation emergency. I want you to think about this. If you're in the booth, I want you to think about ways that you can get to the center of the house. That's the cleanest place for you to conduct an evacuation. What happens if there are fires in the booth? We'll deal with this on Wednesday when we do our live demonstrations, where we're all going to have scenarios where we have to conduct evacuations. We have to deal with emergencies. And I think you'll enjoy that section. It's very much, how do I handle this situation in the moment? So I hope you have a wonderful week. I know this is a little bit longer of a video, but I think it was very important to cover these topics. We're going to be covering a whole lot more during the semester and during the week. See you soon.